So I've been playing the latest hotness, the closed beta for Arena Breakout Infinite. Side note, who actually names games these days? Like, this is just 3 random words mashed together. Anyway, I wanted to make a fun, light-hearted, enjoyable video about how fun and great the game is. But I couldn't, because throughout my entire playtime, I couldn't help but feel that this is a great game, restricted under the unbearable weight of a terrible game mode. That's right, I'm gonna say it. Something I've wanted to say for a long time, but have been too scared to actually put into the world. The PvP extraction shooter needs to die. It's an objectively bad game mode that is ruining perfectly good multiplayer games. But wait, put down the pitchforks, Tarkov enjoyers. Put away the skill issue comments just for a moment. It's an objectively bad game mode. Objectively bad. These are not the tears of an old man unable to grasp the lofty concept to the kids these days. This is a well-reasoned opinion matured over years of looter-shooter experience, with a focus on the actual game design concepts behind it, and why these concepts are fundamentally flawed. Arena Breakout Infinite does a lot of things right, which is why it pains me so much that it's packaged these things inside a Tarkov clone. Let's get the obvious out of the way. The game looks good and runs incredibly well, unlike certain other early access titles in the genre. I think I also cried. Oh! Hey, oh. Hang on.
Oh!
It's trying. I noticed very few, if any, bugs at all, unlike certain other early access titles in the genre. Dude, this guy doesn't have a face. The AI are not complete brain-dead apes, and while they're nothing to write home about, I've yet to find one standing in the middle of the road, posing. Unlike certain other, you get the idea. To add to the positives, the lobby system actually works. The menus make sense. The game warns you if you're going into battle with stuff that doesn't work. It gives you prompts on what to do to fix your injuries instead of just expecting you to know. It has this insanely cool round recap that logs exactly what you did at all points of the round, which honestly, literally every shooter absolutely needs. Wow, it tells me the path I took. It tells me where I shot people and what. Wow, that's crazy. As you would expect with games like this, the weapon customization is extensive. Jesus Christ. However, the gunplay is mediocre. It works, but it's nothing to write home about. Now, did they do this all by shamelessly stealing large portions of the Tarkov code? Maybe. But through nefarious means or otherwise, More Fun Studios, a subsidiary of Tencent Games, have managed to produce an early build game that actually works, which in 2024 is about as close to witnessing a miracle as you're gonna get.
Hell yeah, brother!
But as I mentioned in the intro, there's just one problem. It's an extraction looter shooter. And so, rather ironically, More Fun Games have successfully made their game less fun. The extraction looter shooter gameplay loop is fundamentally flawed, and here's why. The sole purpose of the game is to gather as much valuable loot as possible. Loot can be traded in for money, or in some cases crafted into valuable stuff you would have otherwise had to pay for. And money is a very important factor in the looter-shooter experience, as in-game currency is used to buy weapons and ammo among other things that make you stronger when in-game looking for loot. Add into the mix that dying in the field causes you to lose everything you brought with you, and suddenly money and the things that generate money are the 2 most important parts of the game. So the looter shooter heavily incentivizes gathering loot and heavily dissuades dying. As such, the perfect round in any looter shooter looks like this. You spawn. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Run around for 20 minutes. Gather only the most valuable items by spending excessive amounts of time menially searching entirely uninteractive boxes, safes, and coat pockets. Running to the extraction point with your backpack full of goodies and never firing a single shot, or engaging with any human or AI player.
Alright.
That's where it's at. The absolute worst case scenario in any game using this game mode is to run into another player, as the risk of death is incredibly high, and the reward of what they might be carrying is incredibly inconsistent, and in most cases suboptimal compared to a loot-only run. And this is a fundamentally flawed idea for a multiplayer video game. And to understand this, I'll be looking at Extraction Shooter's dad. In my eyes, the unofficial father of the looter shooter is the Battle Royale, a game mode where you scavenge for loot, but the loot is to fight other players to help secure your place as the last remaining team in the circle. And this is far superior for a number of reasons, most importantly because of nature's strongest shape, the circle. The Battle Royale forces players to move closer and closer together, and inevitably engage with each other by constantly shrinking the actual play area. This creates an engaging gameplay experience where, while looting is incentivized to beef up your character, it is only promoted so that you're better prepared for the inevitable combat that follows. The extraction shooter takes the worst parts of Battle Royale and turns it into a series of mind-numbing chores that you seem to be committing for no other reason than a desire to do mind-numbing chores. Spending hours picking up garbage across a largely unchanging map to sell in a marketplace is not entirely dissimilar to going out to your local park and collecting trash into a black bag in the hopes some pawn shop might buy some of it, so that you can go home, upgrade your black bag and garbage picker, and do it again. And I'll be honest, I don't really want to spend my evenings picking up trash, so why would anyone want to do it in a video game? And this doesn't even scratch the surface of the issues these games have trying to get new players in. As you play more, you inevitably gather more loot, learn the maps and the spawns, and improve your gear. Even after only a short amount of time of the game being live, the disparity between the strength of the new player and the guy who's been playing a month is huge, and can lead any new player into a spiral of failed raids and deaths where they'll spend more time in the menus rebuilding their character than actually playing the game. And while I acknowledge that this is absolutely a skill issue, it does inevitably lead to a game that heavily excludes new players, requires constant loot resets, and creates a game that actively eats itself through a disparity in skill across the player base. While other games not rocking the extraction shooter experience do also inevitably suffer from skill disparity and steep learning curves for new players, very few other games can beat a new player into the ground so excessively that they literally run out of money and can no longer play the game. So okay, I don't like extraction shooters, who cares? Well, I think it's a problem because they ruin what is otherwise really good games. I've over the last year played Tarkov, Arena Breakout Infinite, and the closed alpha for Arc Raiders, an extraction shooter being developed by Embark, the guys behind the finals. In all cases, I found these games to have a strong framework for a good video game, which I think is really hard to come by these days. So it pains me to see these games shaped into fundamentally flawed extraction shooters when they could be solid, large-scale tactical shooters, battle royales, or any other far more engaging, less menial shooter concept. Now, I already know the comments are going to burn my retinas and fry my brain, but before you do drop a comment, maybe consider this. The console wars are largely fueled by people who have to commit to buying only one of the available choices, and then were forced into defending their choice as they've already invested a large chunk of money and potentially time into the product. Before telling me that Tarkov is the greatest game ever made, consider for a moment about whether your opinion is somewhat tainted by the amount of money and time you've invested in the product, and whether your views on extraction shooters would be any different if you hadn't given up so much of your time collecting trash already. As always, thanks for watching, all the best, and I hope to see you in the next one. 55 degrees.
That guy. It's just a scab. But... Alright, slorg.
I put 3 rounds into his brain and it was the third one that killed him.